Good afternoon, participants. The session will be engaged by Dr. B.H. Shekar on Biometric Technology for e-governance. I hereby take this opportunity to introduce Dr. B.H. Shekar to our participants. Dr. B.H. Shekar is currently working as professor in Department of Computer Science, Mangalore University, Mangalore. He is specialized in pattern recognition, image processing, machine learning, artificial intelligence, database systems, and data structures. His nearly 185 articles are published in international and national level journals and conferences. He has worked as a reviewer to Elsevier and Springer and IEEE transactions. He has chaired sessions in national and international conferences and delivered special lectures on various occasions. He successfully guided 10 candidates towards doctoral degree, and currently 10 students are working towards their doctoral degree, covering video analytics, multimedia, digital payments, multimodal biometrics, human action recognition, and medical image analytics. He was awarded Commonwealth Academic Fellowship during 2014 to carry out his postdoctoral work at University of Surrey, UK. The Sandwich Model Fellowship is awarded by German Academic Exchange Service during 2002 to carry out part of his PhD research work in University of Nuremberg, Germany. He has successfully completed international collaborative research project works with Moscow State University, Moscow, Russia, and University of Tokyo, Japan. He also conducted GYAN programs on digital payments, technology for cashless society, and visual object recognition funded by MHRD, Government of India, inviting Professor Joachim from Germany and Professor Rago from University of Texas, United States. Apart from academics, he also worked in the administration as special officer for about 4 years and worked as a director in charge of computer center. He has effectively completed various e-governance related administrative responsibilities entrusted by the administration during his tenure as a special officer and director. With this short introduction, I welcome Dr. B.H. Shekar to the program. Welcome, sir. So I request you to take over the session, sir.
Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you very much.
So my topic for the today's presentation is on biometric technology for e-governance. So we will basically firstly discuss about, if I look at the agenda of the presentation, a brief background on the technology. And in fact, Dr. Sharmila told me to give more on emphasis on the implementation aspects. So I will try to cover both because without background study, probably I also had a discussion with madam to say what basically is required to a researcher, not only the coding part, probably what exactly is expected by the research community from the researchers in order to gain an insight into or to develop any algorithms. So those issues we shall focus, including the what is called as the discussion on the standard data sets, research aspects uh, in the context of e-governance, and within e-governance, the role of biometrics for efficient administration. So very basically to say what basically I would call it as an e-governance. When I say it is an e-government, it refers to the application of the ICT to the public sector. So why do we need the exploration of this ICT to the government sector? As all of us know, definitely it is for efficiency. Within a reasonable period of time, I should get the output and effectiveness and implementation of course, the governments of public services through digitization, having robust design and timely delivery. So when I say it is a robust design, so we are supposed to look at, you know that nowadays it's a kind of cyber hacking. So how secure your data is, so that hacker should not access to the data. So that's what in the context of here robustness specifies. And the data should not be stale. And then because everything is invisible, so then what is the guarantee that how the system guarantees that you are going to have a secured protection to the data that you are having or stored in the digitized form. And what is the advantage when you are having what is called as a kind of e-governance or adoption of this digitized technology to many of our works? We will see there are different kinds of works that are considered from the point of view of e-governance, and particularly it is accessible, accountable, transparent, and more engaged with citizens. So these are the terms that are frequently mentioned by the people who implement e-governance in any of their domain, be it a banking domain or an education sector or agricultural sector or even land revenue department or public works department, anything for that matter. So people looking for transparency in the system, so that there should not be any problem. And I mean to say that guilty should be punished. So how exactly we can take into account? And so many measures are taken by the government to have what is called as transparency in the system. And we have been witnessing, we have seen the role of what are called as the various digital apps. So through what is called as Atmanirbhar Bharat, or say for example, Digital India innovations, where people are inventing or providing digitized solutions to the people to access the information. So everything is in our hand in order to provide, say for example, quick service. So effectively, when you are providing such services or online, so definitely there is a concern by the people. What is the security? So it research work that are being carried out extensively by the research community to take care of or to provide protect the data that is stored in the digitized forms. However, in general, when I say it is e-governance aspects, the major sectors would be in healthcare, or it could be in education, or it could be a law enforcement. Of course, defense is equally important for us. So we are trying to looking for e-governance solutions in all these aspects. How well we can efficiently deliver ICT-based solutions to these kind of what are called as the areas. So in fact, you probably might have read in general in the newspaper also that Niti Aayog has worked out a kind of AI-enabled technology in many of the sectors, but they are also mentioning that this should be used as a tool. See here, as you can mention here, each sector, rather than aspiring to be a tool that can replace human decision making in its entirety. I mean to say that this is basically infers that we cannot completely rely on the system for certain jobs. But however, if the jobs are routine in nature, we can think of what is called as deploying the enabled technology. And why AI and all those things we will see at the later stage. What reasons that we think of machine learning or AI enabled technology for the e-governance problems. So in a way, if you look at the, for example, if I just access the e-governance scenario, particularly Indian scenario, if I look at, so definitely there are lots of, say for example, initiatives taken by the government in almost all the domains. So if you happen to visit, say for example, different websites, National E-Governance Department, Division, so you can find the various initiatives that projects taken by the government, like a DigiLocker. You need not carry anything. So you can store all your what are called as the passports and also the ATM card and even the, say for example, driving license, everything could be play even in the mask cards also can place over here, such that it can be accessed anytime. You need not carry anything. That's what when I say it is a biometric enabled or in general e-governance system. It could be a learning management system also. Means a lot of investment made by the government in different sections. Definitely, say for example, if I consider the defense sector or say for example education sector, people are working on that direction. Niti Aayog people are also involved in that. So this is to say that the role of what is called as the e-governance, even if you look at another website, Digital India, say, there also you'll find various initiatives taken by the government for different kind of problem. For example, if I consider the infrastructure, Digital India initiatives, See here, Aadhaar, of course, which I discussed at the later stage, planning to discuss at the later stage. And common service centers are there, and Deen Dayal Gram program, DigiLocker, which I just mentioned. So like that, there are excellent what are called as the platform direct credit transfer. So this is one of the excellent opportunity or say a tool so far provided by the government of India, where DBT automatically the beneficiary will get the money. So there is no what are called as the brokers in between in order to transfer the data. Electronic fund transfer system. So means to say that nowadays automatically, let's say it is a government agency, maybe educational institution. So the funds could be transferred electronically. So this is what I mean. The initiatives taken. So and then this is one more government e-marketplace, GEM we say. So it is one of the best tool because you know that in government sectors we need to do the tender processing to procure any items more than say 1 lakh. So in such cases, this government e-marketplace contains all such items. We can do a comparative analysis, procure the items within a reasonable time, maybe less than a week, less than a 15 days. So it's definitely do possible. So transparency is going to be maintained over there, and you will get the best price. So it's a kind of marketplace where you will get the best price. So means these are the benefits that is there as per as, and also you will get the service within reasonable period. That's what I mentioned. But authenticity is again an important issue here. But who will take care of that is the question. We will address those issues at a later stage. Similarly, it is not only in whole Indian scenario. Government of Karnataka established what is called a Center for E-Governance, where lot of activities are being taken, particularly the infrastructure related issues. So there are applications like, say, for example, several government apps are available. So if you go through these e-service websites, you will come to know the kind of activities that are introduced by this particularly Center for E-Governance, Government of Karnataka, where this DPR, MIT, and then all these, of course, the sectors, education sector, all those sectors, Bhumi kind of stuff. So they are excellent tools which will tell you about, let's say you are going to purchase a land, then is it authorized? Those things can be easily be obtained with the help of what is called as this kind of what is called an online system. So e-procurement, it's again, as I told you, it is a kind of what is called as tender processing, which is one of the greatest problem that administrator used to have in the earlier days. A lot of problems were there. And to overcome, to make it more transparent, people introduce the what is called as this e-procurement system, where online tender processing is there. And it is not only for what is called as the purchase of item, even to the sites or the housing, etc. Those kind of issues could also be loaded over here. And now it is quite common practice to, and it is necessary and it is mandatory that if you want to purchase a site belongs to say MUDA or say BDA, etc., you are supposed to bid through the e-tender and subsequently possible to have your owners. So that's all. In the sense, we are basically highlighting the role of e-governance. Make it, I mean, to say that adoption of the ICT to many of our day-to-day living thing, I mean, works to make it more appropriate and also technology enabled solutions. And why all this comes into picture? It is all because of the evolution in the in industrial revolutions. Industrial, I mean to say that evolution in the process. I mean to say that, as you know, that we move from conventional mechanical, first industrial revolution, mechanical devices to electrical devices, from electrical devices to electronic devices, and now we are living in the era of what is called as the cyber physical systems, where we can talk to the machines. That's what when I say, as far as the when I say it is a cyber physical system, so you can talk to the objects. So Internet of Things. So, but the security is the concern. When you are talking to the object, how secured? Again, what is the guarantee that the information is not disseminated in the network? So that issue is there, and people are working on that. So when you consider these cyber physical system, I mean, interacting with the world, even among the people in establish a communication, lot of data is being generated. So it could be the web data, or it could be the e-commerce, or the financial transactions. So I just mentioned the various aspects of the e-governance, bank or credit transactions, online trading, social network. So it's now common, social network, as you know, that either WhatsApp, if I consider, or a Facebook, or a Twitter, if I consider, lot of data is being generated. But what is the guarantee that? And how do I analyze that data is the question. So for these analysis, is there any technology that I can develop such that I will get the information within time? So in the sense, we that leads to what is called as a subject called say data science, where we move from conventional databases to high-end architectures, which I do the data analytics through statistics or say a machine learning. So I mean to say that conventional what are called as the database tools may not be good enough in order to process the large amount of data that is being generated. The data is very huge. So that's why now people are say linking IoT with the big data analytics also. And when I do big data analytics, probably, I mean, any e-governance problem, if you consider, definitely it is going to be a big data analytics problem. So I am sure you should think of what is called as employing the machine learning algorithms. So ultimately, I would say at the very high end, on top of it, I could say it is a AI-enabled technology in order to provide a solution. So the data that is being generated, as you can see here, it is petabytes per day, which may be more than that. If you consider any of the companies, there is some issue, I believe. Pratyakshini from Department of ISC raised the hand. Ganesh, can you just look into it? So when you look at the amount of data that is being generated, it's very huge. Traffic surveillance problems, and then detecting the fraud or the identity theft. Assuming that they are all automated, then definitely the amount of data that you are going to process is very huge. Then is there any solution so far available for this? And when you look at the development, so probably these are the three terms that are being used in the context of big data analytics. Starts with kilobytes, we moved on to the megabytes, megabytes to gigabytes, gigabytes to a terabytes, terabytes to a petabyte, and maybe more than now. So sometimes, Google server also halts. Maybe last week it was halted. It's all because of this online, what is called as probably meetings, conference, workshops, etc. AICT is also insisting on so many online courses and education sectors, everything, because of this pandemic, COVID-19, we are supposed to stay apart. And then, of course, without sacrificing the kind of work to be, I mean, to say that for various reasons, we have to be active and the data is exchanged over the net. So, and most of the time, it's the people tend to use, that it's a Google search engine would be used or a Google Meet. Similarly, there are other apps also like Zoom, what you're using right now in your institute. But probably Government of India has some restriction on using the Zoom tool. Maybe AICT also, but they may allow only the what is called as the valid versions or so rather than a free tool because of the security reasons, of course. Whatever it is, the data that is going to be exchanged is very huge, and the type of data is no more restricted to conventional relational table data, like say for example the textual data or the numerical data. So it may be a semi-structured, or it could be a graphical data, or it could be a semantic social network data or streaming data. I mean to say that the video data. And processing these kind of data is very challenging and complex. So therefore, people tend to explore what is called as the artificial intelligence. Can I use AI-enabled technology in order to understand our lives, in order to analyze the data that is being generated? So when I say exploring the artificial intelligence, it is basically, can I use a computing devices to understand the data? Nothing more than that. Can I develop a kind of algorithm which will analyze the data and give me the results? So that results in what is called as a machine learning, of course. Since I am using a machines to perform the task, so we are simulating the human brain. So ultimately, it is called as the AI-enabled technology. So as you can see here, it is of course a cover magazine in one of the well-known journal. So it is fundamentally transforming how our world lives, and the investment is in terms of trillion, 15.7 trillion investment would be made by the industries on this AI-enabled technology. It's all because to make our life better. So to make our life better in the sense that deploying the technology in almost all walks of our life. But is it really feasible or not? That we need to decide. Of course, so the debate is there always from social science, from humanities, and also science and technology people, how best and how useful this is, because you know that sometimes we also technology orientation is there, still we feel sometimes it's difficult to convey certain information rather than say, for example, or online. So offline would be preferred. Anyway, so but still, can we use AI-enabled technology for our day-to-day activities? Yes, it is do possible. So that's why you know that government is providing what are called as the various authorities, which I already told you in earlier showed the website also, like National Information Center, the CDAC, METI, even CARE, and then Karnataka government, all these government of Maharashtra, Pune. So they have taken some kind of initiation in their routine activities to implement ICT-enabled system. And Niti Aayog is worked in between, I mean, as a central authority to control the financial aspects, of course, apart from what is called as the Digital India Initiative aspects. Okay, and so National Institution for Transforming India, so which takes care of and Digital India. I mean, there is a consortium to take care of how exactly the data to be shared across. Policy decision are equally important when you are making everything digitized. So there are lots of many developers equally exist. So where in which they take care of developing what is called as e-governance solutions for the same. So as you can see here, speech and facial recognition, student services, and citizen government interface or e-governance are getting a prominence by the international, national, domestic as well as international industries, IT industries. This is what the focus. And this is just a report from the Niti Aayog about the government of India initiatives. Who are the users? So you can see there are various government sectors explored these e-governance solutions. Delhi police has adopted technology-based policing. So what they do, maybe to track the person, those things. IA imports smart eyes cameras, Ministry of Women and Child Development. So where they keep a kind of what are called as smart devices on various locations so that security could be provided. Women empowerment. Pune street light project. Maybe it is what is called as automated control, because environment pollution is one of the hardest issue and people are addressing it. And crime data analytics software like Bureau of National Crime Records Bureau. So because nowadays, because of these reasons of this technology enabled solution, I'm sure particularly police people able to track the culprit within reasonable period. Although there are certain limitations, we could succeed when compared to the earlier days. So equally, the engineering and also institutes of national importance. So they are also contributing to the development of this particular AI-enabled technology. And if I go back to the historical developments of this AI, there are a lot many tools that you can see. Siri tool maybe from the Apple, and similarly Toy Alexa. Probably some of you might be using Alexa tool in your home at your home to control the smartphone like that. So means to say that these are what are called as we say enabled technology, the people who contributed in this domain. And I'm sure it's purely an interdisciplinary subject. So when I say it is an AI, so particularly we are making machines with the minds. So the question is, how do we really going to be succeeded in this particular aspect is a question. It's still, of course, although maybe quite difficult, okay, to achieve the intended objective to make machines with minds would be too difficult. But still, attempts are being made by the community to simulate the human mind. It's all because of the contribution from the hardware industries also. So equally, we should thank the electronics industry because equally we will have what are called as GPU enabled. We say so whatever deep learning algorithms, as Dinesh discussed in the morning, ANN based models. Unless you have a high computing power, it is not possible to realize such systems. Okay, that's what when I say it is a machines with minds. And AI is becoming successful in these days. It's all because of the reason that involve are doubling in the what is called as hardware technology also. Okay, what is pointed out earlier by Murray and said Miller machines, where every year the technology is getting doubled. That's in a sense, if at all you want to contribute something to the artificial intelligence field or a machine learning algorithms you want to develop, you can be from any domain, maybe from mathematics, maybe from psychology, or from computer engineering, linguistics. So domain knowledge is very much required, and linguistics, if I say knowledge representation of grammar, I want to define or develop an NLP-based tools. Let's say you visit some country where you don't know the language, for example, Russia. So definitely no. Normally there are no boards in English. That's what we have seen. So there are some places where even when you visit probably China, most of the, I mean, you don't find English to the maximum extent. In such cases, can I use your own mobile device to translate the data into what is called as an English or a Kannada, and then subsequently you can do the talk to the people. So that is where the role of this natural language processing comes into. So, I mean to say that I just wanted to run through this video where you can understand these applications of AI. I mean, you can just listen to the experts in the industries where they developed a lot in this particular.
AI is a set a way of using a lot of data to produce a particular outcome. Now, this outcome can be answers to questions. So very often, if you phone a company, it's a chatbot who's actually answering your questions. It's also being used in the medical industry, for example, looking at cells to see if they're cancer cells and so forth. So AI is not a thing, it's a process.
The progress that's been made in the last few years has been mainly in pattern recognition. Another big area is machine translation, being able to do speech-to-speech translation in real time, where I could speak in English and someone could hear Chinese at the other end.
The possibilities of artificial intelligence in e-governance are quite wide, from e-health to driverless buses and public transportation.
What we see today is actually mostly AI deployed in the area of detecting and identifying malicious behavior. But when we think about the next wave of cyber threat, only AI can be able to respond to that.
There are many cases in which new technology has a natural tendency to increase inequalities. In the case of AI, maybe even more tricky, because of the nature of current AI, which thrives on huge amounts of data, and the use of the technology is better done by the companies. So it's like a natural monopoly reinforcement system.
Artificial intelligence cannot decide and create reasoning without the data itself. So the ability to control and to understand the type of data that exists, then I think this is an interesting beginning. Basically now it's like the Wild West. So all the companies are collecting whatever data they can collect by law. One of the reasons why middle-class jobs are disappearing is that automation is taking over many of those clerical functions and factory functions.
Some of the AI researchers I work with, they told me quite excitedly, oh, we now know from the medical industry what 7 conditions need to be in place in a person's life for that person later in life to develop a depression. Now, fast forward to a job situation. Are you not going to get a job because you may have 5 of these 7 conditions? We become subjects to the AI's decisions.
There are already misuses of AI for misinformation, propaganda, manipulation of people. Recent elections, an intelligent machine was able on one hand to profile all the citizens and then to create micro-target advertisements and material that actually change the mind of people. Of course, humans cannot create that kind of thing. And that actually presents a serious threat to democracy. There are several ways you can attack this of the human-machine relation. One is by asking about the possible best cooperation between the human and the machine, and to go beyond the debate about machine replacing human, to transform this into a collaboration problem. At the OECD, we're working hard to help set the course for AI in transforming fundamentally our lives and societies. And the critical question now for future generations is what kind of society we want.
So we just listened to some of the experts working in the domain of artificial intelligence, and you have seen the beauty of this AI. But to realize that it is not a 1 day or 2 days, it is years together effort by so many people. Maybe 1,000 people would be required to simulate AI. So in the sense, we basically, when I say it is in general artificial intelligence, that is human intelligence exhibited by machines. So therefore, machine learning is invariably required. So which is an approach to achieve the artificial intelligence. So in that context, Dr. Sharmila has rightly pointed out in order to realize AI, probably we should have the knowledge of the machine learning. And in all these 6 days, I'm sure so many techniques have been discussed, applications have been presented, and the solutions are also given through neural networks, through clustering classification, through learning, Bayesian learning, or say different algorithms that are available. So, which we can think of or simulating the human intelligence. So, and one such buzzword on the recent days that is extensively used is the deep learning. It's one of the technique of what is called as implementing or realizing the machine learning algorithms. So, to say deep learning is not the final one to say. It means that it may be good for some class of problems, may be equally bad for some class of problems. So we need to initially or say judiciously choose either a machine learning, conventional machine learning algorithm, or we can think of going what is called as the deep learning. To say that automated tool to extract the features. In the morning session, Dr. Rao has raised one question. I happened to listen to the session, and he's asked whether we can think of convolutional neural networks to classify the ECG. Of course, it's possible. No doubt they can also think of using the deep learning. If at all you are able to extract the features more efficiently than the machine, definitely it's your brain that really works on analyzing the data, and then you can think of submitting the same to the classifier. There are different classifiers so far available, like support vector machine, conventional KNN, and so on. So many classification techniques are available. And it depends again on the data and also the a priori information. Means each and every classifier, either a decision tree or naive Bayes or SVM, when you are going to use such classifiers, some knowledge about the data is required. So in such cases, so labeled data would also be required. And there are techniques which doesn't work on, doesn't require the labeling of the data also. So still classification is possible, which is classified as a clustering techniques. In the sense, we are looking for machine learning algorithms or one such technique called say a deep learning to obtain a solution to our problems. So what are the kind of solutions are the problems that you are having? And particularly when I look at, say, for example, the application of e-governance or e-governance problems that were so far visualized, like, say, for example, tender processing or attendance management in a school, whatever it is, can I think of what is called as a kind of security to the data through the notion of what is called the biometrics? So that's where we are trying to figure it out. How exactly I can think of going for biometric based e-governance for some kind of problem that we are going to deal with. So what basically is a biometric here? It's a method of recognizing the individuals based on measurable biological or say behavioral characteristics. When I say it is a biological, it is inherent by birth. So like your face or a fingerprint, a word of course may be changed over the time, or your behavioral characteristics like your walking style or could be a signature, etc. All those referred as the behavioral characteristics. So it's trying to say something you are. So nowadays it is quite common to use, let's say for example, as you know that fingerprint as a means to authenticate the transactions. Probably might have visited a bank wherein which in order to open the, say for example, the desktop or to authenticate transactions, the clerk even then supposed to enter their finger. So it's true with respect to attendance management also. Nowadays, it is quite common to go for biometric-based attendance management, both to the staff as well as to the students community. So, and it is uncommon, and definitely, I'm sure most of you are having the what is called as the smartphones, wherein which it is going to be unlocked through either fingerprint or face unlocking system. 3D face are also deployed or integrated as a part of smartphone. So means to say that the companies will float a new idea and they sell it with a saying that it is more secured, having deploying these biometrics. I mean, when you do the transaction, say for example, DigiLocker, let's say I need to show the same. So I should unlock my phone and then it is still possible. In such cases, biometric. When I do the attendance management, then also I should provide my fingerprint. What is the reason for going this biometric? It's all because of the reason that the problem with the security. So in the sense, so we are living in a society where people cannot be trusted based on the credentials. So in the sense, based on your ID card, because it can be stolen or it could be modified based on the passport. I cannot think, definitely we cannot depend on only the passport to identify person. So, or trust a person that we are in. Similarly, PIN and a password. Somebody can stolen the PIN or say a password in order to access your banking, say for example, internet banking account. I mean, these are the kind of problems so far people have faced. So therefore, they think of biometric-based solutions. As you know, September 11 attack use these passports and then do this. Too many passwords. Again, a password problem is there. You know that. I'm sure most of you are having many accounts in either a Twitter or anything, or say LinkedIn, or say Yahoo, or a Google, Hotmail, or even to your own college, say user ID, and then so many things are there, and you need to remember too many passwords. Sometimes in such cases, there is a tendency that you may not remember. So that problem is there, or it could be taken by somebody else when you are entering the password. I mean, these are the problems we face in our daily life in order to, when I say it is a technology-enabled solution. Therefore, what is the kind of solution provided by the researchers or the technology-oriented community people? So they explored when to use a biometric. There are different what are called as the I would say biometric traits that are available in order to simulate or say for example to authenticate yourself. So fingerprint or a face or the iris could be used like this. And one of the most promising or say the application is the Aadhaar card. As you know that nowadays to all of your what is called as authenticity, it's the Aadhaar card that is being used. And one of the best example is the initiative taken by the AICTE. And you know that probably those who are involved in what is called as the approval process, they are supposed to enter your what is called as the Aadhaar ID, right? So in the sense, if there are any difference in terms of the names, in terms of the Aadhaar ID, because earlier days it is predicted that same person is also working in different institutes, engineering colleges. What is the solution? They introduce this technology-enabled solutions to avoid multiple entries. So even they extended date also. Very recently, I heard and I know that. So they extended date to eliminate, because sometimes it's a problem faced by even the administrator also, as you know that. Some of you are working on, as I told you, the administrative aspect also. To recognize your institute by AICTE, it is mandatory that you need to submit the faculty data. So in such cases, the other card number is supposed to match, otherwise it gives you an error. And as on 30th November 2018, this is just I have collected. So they have issued 122.9 crore Aadhaar cards. It's not a joke. It's not a, see the amount of data that is going to be processed per day would be 3 crores of data. Somebody request for modification, etc., address change, things like that. Then, as I have read in the website, that nearly 3 crores transactions are being carried out every day. So the amount of data that is so far stored is about 122.9. So which is very, very large. So it is definitely a big data analytics problems, we would say. So in the sense, having these kind of technology-enabled solutions has a lot of applications. Maybe criminal investigations, identifying the missing persons, ATM, record protection, passport control, border control, access control. So means to say that we have found extensively more number of applications having this biometric technology for our better living. So in a way, it is a machine learning for societal applications. I mean, security to convenience, fraud, deduplication, all these problems gets avoided. Okay. And this example is the digital payment scenario. And you know that nowadays it's quite common to go with the different apps that are being developed, wallet providers, POS as a payment processor. And nowadays it's quite common to go with PayPal or say Payum or Paytm, any Beam app, etc. And using your cards, debit or a credit card or your internet banking accounts. So it's quite common, but underlying there is a policy when you are doing this kind of transactions. So how secure your data, and it is known to you people. Some of you are working on banking, internet banking, or say pay you money, etc. Paytm. So either your fingerprint is used or even the PIN numbers are being used. Maybe in the future days, it may be replaced either by your fingerprint or maybe by your face, etc. So I mean to say that, and when it should be very robust. When you are taking a fingerprint or a face, as I mean, the system should be very robust, and all smartphone comes with by default a kind of what is called as the fingerprint scanner, or say a camera which captures your face. It should be very smart in that sense. And government is working on that directions to provide a smartphone to all the people with, of course, cost effectiveness is also required. Therefore, people are working in that direction also. There is a competition going on. I mean, it is in terms of hackathon. Very recently, I also received one message from AICT. Thai hackathon is as a part of Digital India initiatives. How well we can, I mean, to say that introduce different kinds of ties. So, which maybe for various reasons. So, like through hackathon, we can think of one can think of what providing an efficient and accurate solutions like that. So, I mean, authentication is quite common, and I'm sure even I heard and know that because I happen to visit Base Campus many a times. But because of this corona, unfortunately, we are dealing with now online. So they are having what is called as fingerprint enabled attendance management system for all the faculty members. So it's definitely from administration point of view, very, very useful. So they are supposed to know about the entry and exit of the faculty. That's maybe even they might have used these for students also for attendance management, because that reduces a lot of time. In the sense, it's for phone security, it's quite common for fingerprint, and the most popular biometric traits that are being explored nowadays are these. I mean, the fingerprint or the face or say the iris. Depending upon the application in hand, we can think of going for any of these or a combination of these. So there are excellent algorithms so far available in the literature which combines these or even works with different modalities. Just to tell you from the horse mouth, I will show you one of the video where in which there are excellent works. You please go through that text also because that will tell you where exactly these biometric applications are very, very useful.
Telephonic.
So you have seen the role of deep learning. You might, I'm sure, looking at the videos, you know how well and what is the amount of effort that is invested by the Panasonic industry in order to come out with a solution. It's, as I told you already, lot many works, lot many algorithms just to locate the faces. So it's not so easy. So many algorithms are there, thousands of papers available to for face localization itself. So it is a challenging opportunity to the researcher in order to deal with those issues. I mean to say that if you look at all those videos, as you know, that there may be uncooperative users, unconstrained imaging conditions. It's so in a natural scenario we are trying to act, and the image quality sometimes may not be good. Intra-class and inter-class similarity. I mean, these are the kind of problems that we normally tend to obtain. So attacks on biometrics. I mean to say that there may be a spoofing, and how do you deal with all these issues is a question. I mean, we can simply say e-governance at a very high level, abstract level, but when it comes to reality, it's really very, very challenging. In the sense, as you have seen there, the face pose may not be directly visible to the camera. Then is it possible still to access that? And even intra-class variability. Is it possible to with varying age? And you have seen one such video where with age variance also it's and with respect to the identical twins, with respect to the similar photographs. In the sense, so we are moving from constrained to unconstrained world when we are taking up what are called as these e-governance aspects. And when I'm trying to deploy a biometric enabled technology for various e-governance problems like footage analysis, etc., it is necessary to develop a system which will take into account these unconstrained environment also, which is very, very challenging to the research community. That's what. See here, if you observe this face recognition in a crowd, is it too possible? Can I develop an algorithm? And here it is, as you can see, watch this video footage. Definitely, it's relatively not so clear, but still, can I get? Or the same person is visible with different, say, photographs, as you can see here. So this is what is called as spoofing problem. So, I mean, face disguise problem issues. I mean, when you take up on the other hand, the research side, so people are addressing these issues. So therefore, when you are developing any algorithm, so initially you are asked to work on the standard data sets that are people are working on. I just wanted to take you to such what are called as standard data sets that are available. Okay. And this is one such image analysis and biometrics lab at IIIT Delhi, where they have given a benchmark video data set for face detection and recognition across spectra and the resolution. So I will send you the link also. I mean, slides will be shared. You please go through. And they release the tool as well as the database that are available, which you can suppose, which you can access to. Okay, like that. Similarly, so when wider face is another common what is called as the detection benchmark. So means to say that you are supposed to consider such standard data sets. So then only it is evaluated better. And very recently, these are the ones that are being considered IJBA or MALF or FTDB or AFW data sets. These are the standard data sets, and this is published in one of the top conference, that is Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition in 2016. So which consider these different data sets, okay, like IJBA and so on. And see here the amount of what is called as the data that we are having. 24 lakhs 327 images, which contains 49,759 images. I mean, the size is very, very large. So definitely conventional algorithms or the systems may not be able to deal with such large amount of data. So invariably you need to go for what are called as the high-end computing devices. So for that purpose, you may need to write a project proposal to the government, submit it as a proposal, and then think of getting the same, and then only you can dream your or realize your works. Otherwise, it is really very difficult with the conventional laptop or a desktop. For demo purpose and all, we basically go with some small data set having 400, 500 peoples in the set and subsequently scale it up. So means to say when hackathons are organized, they normally go with a huge amount of data. So you are supposed to look at such large database and then provide your results. Because scalability is one of the factors when you consider any kind of applications for that matter. So that's one thing that I wanted to highlight for here. And similarly, I'm also dealing with working on YT faces. You can see here one more paper where U2 faces is also considered U2 face data sets. So you can obtain the same. So please use these kind of databases when you are designing your face recognition algorithms. So it is again in IEEE CPR published in 2011, but still they consider as the standard data sets that are being considered from the point of view of. And this is one of the recent paper, okay, that I just seen, where past, present, and future of face recognition a review, which is published in 2020. Okay, 9 of 8 August. That is published in July 2020, just 6 months back. You can go through this paper where they clearly discuss. This is again open access article. Okay, you can access this. I will anyway send you the link. The slides contain the links. You can access this. And they illustrated that conventional machines or GPU-enabled machines are required with a review on what data sets are there, what are the various face recognition systems that are available, and what metrics to be used in order to evaluate your methodology. And over the years, what is the kind of development of 2D face recognition. Earlier days, we are having the overall data set, the ferret, and then the AR data sets. And now people, of course, these data sets also you can use, however, okay. So these are the different data sets, and LFW is one quite common nowadays people tend to use because it is a large gallery. So it's a gallery of 13,233 images, and the faces are very, very, I mean, small size in nature. The dimension may not be same. So I mean to say that, so you need to do some kind of pre-processing in order to understand or process the data. So a lot of databases, he has given link to the databases. So it is good enough to work with some, or depending upon your what is called as application in hand, problem in hand, such data set to be considered. Then you cannot work on all the data sets. It is really very difficult. So you consider some 4 to 5 standard data sets and VGG phase, which is again a deep learning model. So visual geometry group. So this is from Andrew Zizerman group. This is basically the revised VGG 16 and now VGG 19, which is of course as you can see here, Andrew Zizerman, a deep face recognition, which is a BMEC conference. They published this article initially, and later on it gains a popularity in 2014 and 15 itself. So nowadays it's extensively used. They use the improved version of that. I mean, these are the deep learning models so far available in order to understand or to process or to develop the models, VGG phase and phase 2. Okay, like that. See here, there are, and then I told you IJB, IARP, ARPA, Janus Benchmark B, and this is the standard database now people tend to use, which contains 21,700 odd face images. So like that. So benchmark C. I mean, when they organized any or expects in a top conference, they expect you to provide results on these standard data sets. And you know that nowadays people have, I don't know whether they predicted or not, but still they worked on 2017 itself on the mass data. Okay, I shared this data set with Professor Sharmila so that you can talk to her and get the details. So there are various approaches. So he has discussed all those. So it is kind of a survey which will give you an hint how to start or to carry out research work. And he has discussed even how deep learning or Google Net or different net architectures. Dinesh has given an excellent introduction on various aspects of deep learning and popular CNN architecture. Starts with LeNet to AlexNet and then VGG, Google Net. I mean, these are directly available, what are called as the built-in packages, which can test your algorithm on the data set. Only thing is you should have the computation features to process this data. Okay, so different architectures you can test with different data sets and can see the results. So you please go through this article, which will give you an extensive information on the various aspects, because I'm sure it will give you those who are working on biometric based, and similarly you can think to relate to some other areas also. But what is expected by any researcher. When you are taking up any work, probably need to look into those things. Okay, that is what I just wanted to highlight here. And looking at the data sets, you can visit what is called as facerec.org. So this contains, see, because of the availability of the vast amount of data, sometimes we are really difficult what to use and what not to use. So there is exclusively a face recognition home page which contains state of the art. See, even 2020 papers, the new databases, new papers, new databases, new algorithms, source code, journals and books, all these are available. So, I mean, I'm telling you about only the face recognition. Definitely in the area of your interest, you may need to look into it. For example, action recognition. There are lots of such what are called as the groups that are available. You may need to look into those groups in order to get an insight into those details. Okay. So, and one such, of course, maybe if I want to highlight that. So I told you LFW face databases. Okay. So they have given the code also to process their data. See the complexity so far built into this machine. Just I wanted to highlight you the complexity in the when you take up the face recognition aspects. So I mean, when you are developing a real world system, it is supposed to deal with all these kind of problems. That's what I just want to tell you here. Okay. And similarly, you can look at this IJBA. So IJBA is nearly 350 and add size. The database size is around 325 GB. So I am not made any attempt to download this data because my size of the left out size is less than 60 GB. I cannot think of processing this. The only option is you should store in some secondary hard disk and then subsequently process. And when you are trying to develop an algorithm, as you can see here, can take up 20, it depends on the speed of the net. And it is necessary to work on, if you nearly require to publish article in very high-end conference, top conferences like ICPR, CVIPR, CVPR, probably you are expected to work on such well-known recent standard data sets. So therefore, probably it is possible definitely for anybody. I cannot think of having or owning such high-end machines. The only solution is through the projects. So therefore, so a lot of opportunities are there. You need to explore it. So fetch the project. So take the workstation and have some good computing power. And then deep learning algorithms, all those things definitely can be realized. Or if the institute, if your institute is well off, definitely you can get the administration from the administration. You can take and develop or set up a laboratory that helps you. Or else you can also use in the government has floated a move wherein which you can use a supercomputing research facilities. It is available in IIT, IISc and all, maybe 8 places they have identified. So you can access the resources, hardware resources. And the only thing is you need to send the data and that gets processed there and come back. So for that, you may need to write a project proposal and then to be accepted and pay per project or per hour how much you can use the machine. Allocation will be done there. And so that it's a kind of, you may need to work on a cloud computing environment where you are going to share the hardware resources. I mean, when you have a mindset, definitely there are 101 solutions to work on the problem. That's what I just. And apart from that, to tell you one more thing, there is also a website which will give you the code. So you need not write code from the scratch. Everything is available there. Papers with code. Yeah. So there is a website which will in fact called paperswithcode.com. And I have chosen a face recognition, not only a face recognition, any problem that you deal with. So there are so many papers that are available. So it's see here, as you can see, paper as well as the code. So and comparative analysis, everything is available. And most of the code so far available, as you can go through in detail. So it is either a deep learning based model or a Python framework would be used. So means it is quite common nowadays to go for a PyTorch, or say you can use any what is called as integrated development environment to find a solution to your problem. Okay, either a spider could be used, or a PyTorch could be used, or the PyCharm could be used, or even a notebook. Notebook is say normally it is from the point of view of demonstration. So Jupyter notebook can also be used, but by the teachers normally in order to present the outputs on time there, online presentation. So masked face recognition data set application, I told you 20th March 2020. This data set is released now, and you can also work on those kind of problems. So as a part of COVID-19 situation, you know that, and people are now interested in why are developing algorithms which consider these kind of scenarios. I mean, this is just to tell you that there is a lot of amount of resource available over the net on your area of interest. For example, if I take action recognition, so there are similar to a face recognition also. So you will find papers with code and action recognition. A lot of benchmark data sets are available, UCF, HMDB, NTU data sets. The best method with ranking, as you can see here, which is organized through the hackathons. And when you take the code, say for example, repository, and it's available over here. As you can see here, this particular website contains those repository of the codes. And it is not only that you can think of what is called as a papers with code, okay, option. And there is also an option to see I mean to say that the programs, because sometimes we cannot develop everything from the scratch. We may need to use the what are called as the existing what are called as tools for the same. For example, if I look at here, there are so many programs that are available, and normally I'm just searching for. So there is one what is called as the website that contains. Yeah. See here, there are the same problem, FaceNet Unified Embedding Face for face recognition and clustering. So it is addressed by too many people. So maybe in different environment. So either by TensorFlow or by PyTorch, etc. So means to say that the same problem might have been solved in different ways by different. And particularly, I want to highlight here to the research community here, there is a location called say, or a website called say, a github.com, so which contains a repository of many of the sources. So the researchers are contributing. Probably nowadays, even the students are going to be evaluated based on how many programs they uploaded on the GitHub. So, and how many are referred there, what are called as the code so far uploaded on the website. So means to say that we are looking for all such issues, maybe even a faculty member to be evaluated, or maybe this would be considered in the later days similar to the H index. So how well we can evaluate a faculty. So how many references are there to the code. So I mean to say that these are things. So Python program has been given over here with the data, with the corresponding README file also, which gives you what exactly, how exactly can work, how do I do the installation. So they are given from the scratch. You need not do anything. Only thing is you should have the mindset. See, I have shown you one such problem. They are given a face tracking in the video stream. I mean, you can take a different video from your webcam itself and see whether it works or not. So I mean, this is one way of what, unless you implement on your own, it is not possible to really understand. So you need to implement, then run the program on your machine, and then try to see what is going to happen. And also you can look at the theory also. What is so far given to you is theory plus the concepts. So please use also things so that you can do much better. Okay. So that's what I just wanted to highlight over here. And let me just give you a demo on some of the works. Okay. I mean, So definitely we cannot think of giving a demo on very large phase databases and show you the results, because it should be reasonable. Because when you are giving a demo, normally we go with small data sets and trying to present the results. Let me just come to that particular point. So there is some uh, data set sources for hyperspectral document images. So Bhavani, as far as hyperspectral document images is concerned, is it necessary or so is the question? Because when I say it is a document image, it's good enough to have a conventional. I go for hyperspectral data whenever it's not possible to capture with conventional cameras. For example, the data like what is captured through the satellite. So therefore, I am just curious to know what is the reason to take up hyperspectral document images. Okay. So normally hyperspectral data refers to the data which is captured from different bands, not only conventional RGB bands, let's say for example. So are you going to say that because you are going to use R, G and B bands, can you call it as an hyperspectral? Or then more than one RGB band that you are going to use? Because it is a tendency, probably yesterday uh, in a morning session, you are listened to one of the professor where they highlighted on the radar data. I mean, the satellite data, if at all I considered, it's hyperspectral in nature. I mean, the data may not be captured at single band. So I'm supposed to consider the multiple bands. Then in such case, it is an hyperspectral data. So therefore, I'm just curious to know what is the reason for these kind of hyperspectral document images. Anyway, that's one thing that I noticed here. Let me just come back to a small demonstration. Okay. So as usual, you know that we are using the Anaconda framework, and within that you can use you will be having either a Jupyter notebook to be used, or you can use a professional IDE called PyCharm, or you can use a Spider. So it's up to you. But normally this notebook is used in order to deal with yeah, interactive sessions. If at all I want to, then I can think of using the notebook. And I started using this when Professor Joachim invited here to deliver on visual object recognition. I was so much inspired and started using that. It's very, very interesting, and definitely any programming language issues can dealt with this, because nowadays Python is quite common in almost all engineering institutes. This Python syllabus is there and machine learning is there. You can think of using this. For example, if it is a project oriented, then you can think of going a Spider. The recent version is 4.2, but I have taken here 4.1.5. It is all because of the reason that uh, to make it work with certain tools. So to establish a concurrence with the tools, I'm supposed to. So therefore, some settings would be required. Some higher versions may not be available. So you need to see all those things. I'm sure you will get errors when you run the same code on your machine. It doesn't mean that the program is not working. It means that there is a variation with respect to the version that you are installed on the system. So therefore, you see the environment there. So in the environment, these are the various what are called as the apps that are, sorry, the directories, and also the corresponding what we can say, the packages in terms of Java technology. If I say in terms of object oriented, I would say it is nothing but a header files. So package containing the different functions to perform different jobs. So you will see the different packages, and these packages sits on the base root. Normally this is quite common. Similarly, you can create your own environment. It is do possible. Tailor-made environments could be created. It is nothing but what is called as the virtual environment. So on this virtual environment, on top of this, you can store a different what are called as the corresponding installation of the packages that you want. So means to say that you can tailor or develop your own. For example, OpenCV tool. So whatever that you are going to use, so okay, such tools could be installed on another this one, and it is do possible to execute your program. Okay. So I mean, these are maybe bookkeeping works to be done when you are going to execute the program, because I'm going to share the same with all of you, so that you need not frustrate from executing the program. And that is one thing. I mean, you can use either, as I told you, either a notebook, which is a kind of web interface, or you can use a kind of IDE like Spider or a PyCharm as a professional development tools. So both are, but it is normally I advise you to use a Spider once you gain an experience into it. And I will present in both two different problems so that you can understand. And one such work is on I, of course, already launched the notepad. In order to enable this, just click on launch, automatically gets loaded up. And this is what you get. Okay. And I have chosen the directory. And in the directory, I have selected a file called, say, face recognition called IPYNB. So it's nothing but a Python notebook, which is interactive in nature. So face recognition is given over here. So, I mean, you can write, probably some of you are already familiar. If you want to write some block of code, you can use a insert cell above or below, so that then subsequently can perform the internet operation. And each cell can be executed on its own. I mean to say that you can execute. I mean, I'm sure many of you are familiar. So I'm importing the set of library function. This is a implementation of face recognition using the neural network. So which you are already familiar, where artificial neural networks and deep learning models have been discussed. I'm not going to deal with those things. I'm telling you how to use such neural net in particular when I consider this ANN deep learning model. Okay, and you can change the various parameters. Okay, now to understand how to make modifications to this, so that you can understand the whole program. I will just give you a abstract level explanation on each block. This is just to import the functions that I'm intended to use. You know, when I'm importing a package, so you need not write a program from the scratch. For example, in order to read the image, in order to perform matrix operations. So when I say it's NUMPY, as you know that it is a numerical Python and it is renamed as NP, I mean, it is a shorthand notation for that, nothing more than that. Okay. So OS is to basically to request the various directory related operations, OS related operations. That is reading the data from the or the list of files from the directory. Such things are required. Or then I can think of using this what are called as the functions that are available. And there is an excellent what is called as a manual so far available on all these what are called as the functions. But it is a tendency normally that we go for what is called as the stack not found. I mean, it is one of the excellent website that gives you wonderful information on what is called as the error issues consent. Okay, so you can learn on your own, correcting or incorporating some kind of errors also on this code that is given to you. Okay, at the later stage. So means this particular block is to import the files that I want, importing the packages that I intended to process. These are the packages as a part of deep learning models that are required for me to learn the system. Okay. So let me just execute this particular cell. If I need to execute, the simple way is to run the block. If there are no errors, automatically it says here in, and there is nothing to display. So when I say it is in -1, it is nothing but successful. If there are errors, say for example, let me create an error over here. So from TIL Python image library, I am importing a package called say image. There should be supposed to be an image. And if I am trying to run this, then you should get an error. See here, cannot import name image from PIL. So means to say that you are getting an error, saying that there is no file called say or a package called say image available in PIL. But how do I come to know that this is an error or not? So what you can do is you can search for this through Google or any search engine that you are having. So you know that This was one of the wonderful so far website which give you most of the solutions. Why can't Python import images from here? Go to Stack Overflow. There you will get a lot of solutions. See here, people, you can raise their queries and at least one or two people will answer. See here, there are 17 answers to that. So which will tell you whether the installation is made onto the code. In such cases, do that. So they have given you a lot of suggestions. So what should be the syntax? Conda or anything, or even on Linux platform, somebody, if you're working, then you should use the sudo. Or normally those who are working on Windows platform, they can think of using Conda or say PIP. Okay. So these things, of course, if you do, then the solutions might be problems would be resolved. That's what. Okay. So it is just an example that I am telling you to say that where do I get the errors. So it is a successful execution of the program. All the packages that are required are imported. So now, as you see, you should observe as a programmer all these points also. Now this is empty in. It is empty now, and there are what are called as functions. If it is successful execution, then only you will get what is called as a numerical number here, which says that it is successful execution. And while executing this program, you should also see here in Python 3, in this, its kernel is idle right now. So operating system people definitely appreciate when the kernel is busy, it means that the process is allocated, then it is going to be darker in color. So you can please see the same. And I'm saying say run, when you look at this Python 3, it is going to be dark in color. It means that it's under execution. And once it is successful, then you will get this result. Okay. So it means to say that the corresponding library files required for me to build the systems are loaded over there. And this particular is to load the data from the LFSs. LFSs is one such data that is being used by the researcher extensively also. In fact, in earlier days and even today also people tend to use that. I'm just taking the names of the LFSs that are available in a directory called d::FSs. To show you the same here, when I look at, say, for example, on D drive, whereas for you, you may need to see that where exactly you loaded those files. Okay. And look at here LFSs. See here they are given subject 01 dot central line etc. These are names of the what are called as the files that are given. So there are 15 number of subjects. It means to say that there are 15 different people so that are captured with glasses, happy, left, right, and so on and so forth. I mean, pose variation, sleepy, etc. All those facial expression data is being captured, and these are the different subjects that are available. When I do this, I mean to say that when you go back to here, when I do this OS dataset.upon, then on to this directory dataset path. So all these files are getting loaded. See here, when I execute this, initially it is an initialized to empty. So it is a data structure which contains now the set of strings containing all the names of the file. See here, if at all I want to do this in C language, I need to define a data structure or C++, anything for that matter. And then I can keep on storing. I mean, there are functions available, but the amount of time is definitely is high. So this is what the advantage you get. So it is successful operation. And now data set path contains what are called as the list of all the LFSs. I mean, the names of all the files. You want to know the names of all the files. What you can do is you insert a cell here and say here data set path, then it displays all those things. That definitely is possible. Okay. Now, once I have this, what are called as the names of all this one. What is that? Subject 01 dot centralite, etc. I'm supposed to read those images. And how do I do that? So it can be done. Initialize image data and its corresponding label. So means to which class it belongs to, say, for example, to say. So I'm reading the image data and then assigning the labels. Initialize it to empty right now. Okay, and this particular block of code will tell you read the image data and it is in as a text file. Therefore, convert into take it as a gray value. So append to the image data, and similarly get the corresponding labels also. Append to the label grid. Image labels and image data are the actual. This is the actual image, and this is the label associated with that particular image. It's a classification problem basically. Therefore, I am taking the corresponding labels. And just for your information, I have taken this particular block of code, which will tell you just whether I am really read the image or not, I want to see. So therefore, convert that image data. Say, for example, I am taking from the location 1. And whenever you need to display, the image should be of unsigned integer 8. That would be the criteria, because by default, the data is taken as a float data. Therefore, I am supposed to convert into, from the point of view of gray, you know that it is a maximum of 255 values. Therefore, it is unsigned integer 8. And converting into an array data, and then from the array I am showing it as a EMG file, and then displaying the same. And if I execute this, so maybe let me just first run this. Okay, then successful execution. Now let me execute this. So it will display the corresponding image, as you can see here. It will show this is the face that is so far stored in that particular file. I mean in one. That's one. But I am not interested in this background region. I want to eliminate this background region. So therefore, what should I do? You can think of using some existing library functions to locate the faces. But how do I do that? See here, this is of course referred as a pre-processing. You can do the face detection using OpenCV and copying the image to a size of 150 by 150. I mean to say that I am standardizing the same thing. Okay, locating the face region in a given video. You know that in order to recognize the faces, the face to be located. And one such well-known what is called as OpenCV function that is available is the R cascade classifier. Okay, particularly if I'm using a R cascade frontal face .xml file that I'm importing from this. You are supposed to make a modification in your program where exactly these what are called as the XML file has been loaded. Then if I run this, build the classifier, okay. After that, I call that function detect at multiple scales. When I say detect, you are supposed to see the details in a paper. What do you mean by saying detecting the faces at multiple scales? It is nothing but performing a kind of convolution operation at various sigma and then identifying the face region, so that the face region is not going to be missed. That's what. So now I'm taking each image from the image data, then initializing. Once the faces are located, face region is located, it is stored in a directory called an array called say face points having coordinate positions. So then I'm assigning cropped region is I runs from y of y to 1 plus 50. So y to y x plus 150. It means that I'm taking an image of size 150 by 150 and then appending the same, that cropped image. So for the sake of just clarity, whether I have really cropped the image or not from the image that I have shown, we are displaying the same over here. Let me just execute that. When you see here now, there is no background region. I'm just cropping. I mean, this is what the output result from the R cascade classifier. You can change that. It is not necessary that you should use the R cascade classifier. You can use your own face detector localizer to perform the intended operations. Okay. So now once I have this data, okay, let me store this into an array called say, for example, and I would like to know the size. So there is a function called say shape function, which will display the same. This is to say that I'm having 165 number of samples and each sample are of size 150 by 150. And what these X and Y represents 101 and 77. This is the with respect to the last phase of the image. Okay, that's what I mean. We keep updating X and Y values. That is with respect to the 165th. I'm having these values. That's all. This is just to know, confirm with that whether we are performing the correct operations or not. You know that there are 165 what are called as the files. When you look at HALE here, see here, as you can see, there are 165 items. I mean to say that I'm taking different what are called as 15 subjects. 15 subjects in the sense that 15 different faces, sorry, persons, and having what are called as these number of classes. So that's what. So totally there are 165, and that has been read properly. So I mean, you need to put testing teach time so that you can understand. Then, what is the criteria normally in the case of conventional neural networks? I should have what is called as the split the data into test sets and the train set. So and its corresponding labels to be obtained. And there is a function available. Okay, what is called as a train, test, and split function is available, where you are saying your train size is 90%. You can vary this number that you need to do. So because I will give you the code, you should run with different parameters also, which you can do that. So where I am passing a parameter called image data fine, it means that a cropped image and along with its labels to which class it belongs to. The class 1, class 2, class 3, and so on and so forth. So I am passing such parameter, which will of course give me what is called an xtrain and xtest. So means that this contains the actual train image and the test data, train to be trained and to be tested, and the associated labels. So what is the corresponding? Because you know that any neural network algorithms are supervised learning algorithms. So I'm supposed to have the labels associated with that. So therefore, you should give what is called as y train and corresponding y test to be given. So it contains the labels associated with test samples, y test. Y train contains the labels associated with X train. So when you execute this, okay, so it is a successful execution. So, and now I am converting this data. It is a list time into numerical array from the point of view of processing. So array data type. So execute this, storing in X train, then of course again. And if you want to see whether you really obtained correctly or not, you can just display the what are called as its corresponding shape. Shape basically refers to the dimension, nothing more than that. Okay. See here it says 148 samples are considered of size 150 by 150 or nothing but the training samples. And I'm taking here 17 as the test samples of size 155, 150. And these are the labels. This contains the labels to which class it belongs to. Of course, with respect to the training, 148 labels. And with respect to the testing, 17 labels are there. So we know that there are 15 number of classes. Okay. So as you can see here, so there are 15 number of classes. I mean to say that 15 people are there with different facial expressions. Centralized with glasses, with happy, normal mode, sad mode, sleepy mode, etc. Those facial expression data has been captured. So that's why, of course, we are taking here 15 samples, okay, 15 number of classes, and then I'm converting to numerical. And if you want to see the size of the same, see here, corresponding white line labels you want to see. Because it is a random selection, you cannot expect one to always be in the first position. Because the training test and the test split, we do not know. Therefore, you can take care of those just to see whether you really obtained such information or not. You can verify the same over here. And this is just a bookkeeping routine to convert into the given y train and y test into a matrix of size 168 by 15 and 17 by 15. Because you know that I am converting 90% to the test, train, and remaining 10% to the test set. Therefore, obviously, I should have proportionately 148 and 17. So as you can see here, if I execute this, it will show you once successful execution. So it will display 148 by 15 and 17 by 15. What typically the contents to be, suppose if you want to see that, you can even do that. See here, it will locate, I mean, on that particular position, wherever there is a label, it is the value 1. So it is just a binary matrix containing the associated indices with respect to the what is called as the image that you read, okay, the labels that you are having. Then once you have these bookkeeping operations that you have performed, you have to convert each 2D image into a vector form in order to feed it to the neural network. So how do I do that? Using a reshape function so far available. And I know that there are 148 samples. See, and this program will not work 100% if I just change here from 90% to 70%. So therefore, you can modify this code, take this as an exercise, modify the code such that it works for any dimension. Whenever I have given here, I change it to say, for example, 75%, and it should work. And what should be the modification that I should do? I should find out how many number of test samples and train samples that are being generated, and which I can obtain through what is called as the shape function. So means to say that this first parameter contains these what is called as how many number of training samples are there. This contains how many number of testing samples are there, and that value should be loaded over here, 148 and 70. I mean, do the exercise simple so that you would be able to understand the internal details of the same. And it is purposefully hard coded. You know what is meant by hard coding in software engineering, right? So in the sense that hard coding is not a good idea. Therefore, it's always good to replace by a variable, where once you change the value of the variable in the top of this, what is called as a set of initialization block, it gets reflected in wherever that variable is going to be used. So, I mean, that is what the programming features, then you are supposed to have that. So now I converted the data into what is called as a vector form. And once you have the data into the vector form, you know that it is of unsigned integer 8. And from the point of view of processing the data, it should be converted into a float type. So then I'm converting the data into a float type and divide by 255 because the values lies between 0 to 1. So now if I execute that, so these are again the operational effect. You can even display this print, training, shape, and corresponding information. You know that training matrix size is 148 and vector size is 22500. It is 150 by 150, obviously. And test samples are 17 in number, and vector is of dimension 22500. That's what it in turns means. Okay. And once it is successful execution, then define the model. This you have, I mean, these what is called as the details were given in the ANN as well as the deep learning models class. Okay, where I am building the model now. So means the input data, the first layer, then an activation, then the dropout. You know what is the reason to go for a dropout? So the reason to go for a dropout is to eliminate some unwanted and reducing the size. Similarly, you can you can embed or incorporate as many what is called as the layers as you can. Right now there are only I'm considering the two layers here. So executing the same here with activation function called say softmax. So if there are no errors, this is just an initialization of a model. Then if you look at the summary of that model, it will give you, it's a model is of type sequential, and then you will obtain these results. Okay. Now, I'm compiling the model with loss type categorical cross interface with optimizer Adam and matrix accuracy. You change these parameters and see what is going to happen. And how do I know the different parameters over there? It's possible to know the different parameters looking at this compile function that is available in sklearn. You can just obtain the same. Now, I'm trying to, it's successful compilation. There are no errors in building the model. Now I'm fitting the training samples and the testing samples. What I'm doing here is X train, Y train. It means to say that this is the test actually training samples and associate labels. And then similarly here, validation data is X test and the Y test. It means that the set of training testing samples, 17 number, and their associated labels. So fit the model here. I have specified verbose is equal to 1 here. If I made verbose is equal to 0, it doesn't display anything. I will just execute this. So it is now execution is going on, which says star here, execution is going on, and this is busy. It means that the system is now, the model is getting trained now. There are no errors, therefore it is successful. If you want to see whether the execution is going on, make the changes here over those one. Automatically, it displays number of epochs are given as 15, and when you try to run this, see here at each time what is the corresponding accuracy that you are going to get. So successful compilation. Once you have this successful compilation, obtain its accuracy. How do I evaluate? Evaluate the X test and the Y test. X test is the test sample, actual test sample, and Y test is this corresponding what is called as the labels. If I give verbose is equal to 1, then in fact it will display the values also here. See, it says it takes hardly less than 2 seconds. Accuracy is 0.88. Okay, you can display the same here, it's true. Then predict the classes. Okay. So, and this is a function to just check whether what you have credited and which are correctly classified and wrongly classified. So that is stored in what is called as the correctly classified indices. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the corresponding associated indices that I would get, and indices that you take 0, 11. This is what I mean. 11th sample is incorrectly classified. That's what it means. Out of 17 samples, 16 samples are correctly classified, and only one sample is misclassified because your accuracy, as you can see here, is 0.88. So if you change the training set, let's say, if you execute once again, okay, you may get 100% accuracy because earlier I tested in the morning, so it gives me an 100% accuracy. Sometimes it is do possible. Varying the training set, it would the results would be different. So this is all with respect to using the what is called as the notebook. Okay, Jupyter notebook could be used, and I will share this code. Please run with different phase datasets and make it more generic so that it works for different datasets too. Okay, that's what. And similarly, I just run through because of the paucity in the time. This is again a principal component analysis based model. So, okay, where I mean, I told you you can use either a notebook or you can use a Spider or Python to develop the program. So, I mean, a block of code that is written over here to know about what is called as this classifying the phases through eigenphases, what is called as principal component analysis. I will share the code with you so that you can practice it, right? And probably can understand here how to build a PCA model. This is just a Ashok Rao has already discussed this particular algorithm. So if I consider the eigenfaces problem, reading the faces, normalize it, then do the mean subtraction, estimate the variance covariance matrix, identify the eigenvalues and the eigenvectors, and subsequently project the data onto maximum eigenvalues and then do the classification. That's what the whole process so far involved. And if I execute this, run this file, I will get accuracy is 93.75%. Means some of the what are called as the data is not correctly classified. It's not 100% accurate because we have considered the number of training samples are approximately 90%. We can vary that and check with the same, see what is going to happen. I mean, you can think of developing a program from the scratch like this, or you can use what is called as existing library functions to go with that. What are the existing library functions that are available? See here, as far as face is concerned, if you open an OpenCV library, there is a face. In fact, Chairman also want me to discuss on LBP, but because of the paucity of time, I'm just giving this as an assignment. So LBPH face recognizer are there, eigen face recognizer are there, and fissure face face recognizer are there. So you please try with what is called as these three also, because there is hardly one line of code, nothing more than that. So see here, I have shown you this much of code in order to read the data and also to obtain the eigenvalues and the eigenvectors. So this particular eigenface recognizer does that all those jobs. But only thing is you need to have your own what are called as the IO reading mechanisms. Similarly, fissure face, a variant of the eigenface could also be used. And LBPH, which is nothing but a local binary pattern methodology to deal with what is called as the texture issues and all those things. So you please go through this, which will give you an insight into what is called as, see here, they are given a block of code also. So how to run this, creating a face recognizer and then, okay. So you can just take, I mean, here, so many kind of problems could be solved here. Just with this example, what I had shown you here, this was for this particular problem work for the alley faces. So you try with what is called as the ATT phases also. And I have taken for this particular demonstration on principal component analysis, I have taken the overall data set. See here, overall data set is considered, which is having 40 people with 10 phases in there. And each person is represented by 10 phases. That is overall data set. There are 40 people over here. Okay. and then see here as you can see, and then there are what are called as the, and each person is represented by 10 faces, and of course there are type PGM files. So you please this consider this as an input to this particular code and run the program and see what is going to be. So you need to make modification at various levels. Please note, okay, maybe whatever the hard coding that I have made, okay, make modification would be required. And this block of code may not be required because automatically that program takes care of what locating the faces properly. So therefore, this image data finalization may not be required. Cropping, I mean to say cropping is not required in this case. So therefore, we can eliminate this block. But in such cases, see that it is actually, I mean, the data is in rather than image data is going to be processed rather than the process data. So those things you do the modification in your program and see whether you are getting a result or not. That is number one. Okay. Number two. So I have given a code for what is called as AT&T face data sets. So now modify this for YALE program. I mean, it's evaluating for AT&T. Instead of AT&T, I mean ATT or ORL data sets that we used to say, you just modify this program such that it works for this data set. That is what is called as the YALE faces. And see how complex. I mean, definitely you will require a lot of time for this because of the changes in the names as you can see. It is not as simple as you think. Just by replacing YALE directory, it will not work. So please note here, you are supposed to make modification center light glasses happy. Those things should be taken care. And subject 01, of course, here it is quite common. Subject is quite common. This index to be varied. And these names again to be varied. So that should be taken care here. That is in your what is called as the string concatenation operations. Okay, here phase ID and identified with PGM, I and J. This is quite simple as far as ORL is concerned, but when you are going to make it with YALE, it would take some amount of time. And that is where your what is called as the programming knowledge would come into picture. It's not complex, I will tell you. It's your understanding on the Python programming is very much required over there. Okay, this is all from the demonstration point of view. Let me come back to the slides. So here, even though we mentioned many things, definitely I know this is I used to say the complexity is there in the image processing part. Like how many tigers are there here? Then definitely your answer is going to be very. I'm sure some of you put on Google how many tigers are there, giving this as an image, you will get the solution to this kind of problems. Okay. So it is to say that the image processing is not so simple as we thought. It's very, very complex job. So machine learning is at the higher level. I mean, as far as machine learning is concerned, the data need not be image type. But most of the cases, we deal with image data as also an input because we are witnessing the world through visualization. So our eyes are the means to capture this world. So therefore, normally the tendency is that so machines are going to learn. It is a kind of computer vision. Probably tomorrow is the discussion by Professor Murli on the aspects of computer vision and the complexities so far involved in that. It's really interesting where he has taken several problems to deal with, and I'm sure you can enjoy those sessions too in the next 2 days. Okay, with this, I will just acknowledge all my friends, I would say, who are in fact made me to understand these many concepts. Starting with Dr. Sharmila Kumari, my first PhD student, who is now currently heading the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and also who is the coordinator of this program, Tipesh and Bharti, so many are there, and all my MSc students. Okay, I would like to acknowledge here and to say final words, all knowledge that the world has ever received comes from the mind. It is the infinite library of the universe in our own mind. So, well-known quote by Swami Vivekananda. So, thank you very much.
It was a great session, sir, on biometric technology for e-governance. On behalf of Department of Computer Science and Engineering PACE, extend my gratitude of having you as a speaker of the session. There were many takeaways from the session. I'm sure our participants have absorbed a lot of inputs to carry out their research work from the session. You have also highlighted several challenging areas that our participants can take up as their research topic. So thank you very much, sir, for all the inputs.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.